Hey guys, OG Albino here, bringing you guys another Twitter discussion. Again, I know I'm so inconsistent with these things. In fact, this tweet was posted, as you can see, at the end of January. So it's been a couple months in the making, but I think it's a fun discussion and I want to talk about it today with you guys. If you guys are excited for today's Twitter discussion, you should drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. On our way to 5K subs by the end of the year. And I'd really appreciate it if you help me out along that journey. Also, if you want more Twitter discussions, I have another one coming next week. It's going to be on the greatest cores in Draft League, what your favorite core to use in Draft League might be. Today, though, we are going to ask, what is your absolute favorite Pokemon you used in Generation Draft League so far? For me, it has to be Ironhands. I mean, that's my guy. And you'll see a little bit of a trend. It might be a lot of people's favorite. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not the best Pokemon in Draft League. This is our favorite to use. And for me, it's Ironhands. And I said right here, having a guaranteed 1-for-1 with a Pokemon is valuable, or is so valuable, and it usually gets more. The way I described Ironhands the other day, I was talking to Call with some friends, is like, Ironhands is Melmetal if Melmetal is faster, had a better offensive typing, better stabs, and Volt Switch. And Swords, it's Melmetal on crack. Like, it's absolutely insane. I love those 1-for-1 bulky, strong tanks, and Ironhands does it better than any other Pokemon has ever done that role. So I love using BBR. By far my favorite Pokemon on the team. We had a Deoxys Speed, which is super objectively broken. So if that gives you any indication on my thought on big hands. Now, with that being said, what we're going to do today is we're just going to go ahead and scroll through all 60 of these replies and kind of look and see what your guys' favorite Pokemon to use. Maybe this will give you guys some motivation in your next Draft League on what to pick up. First up, we have Razer Claw. And it wouldn't be Razer Claw answer without saying something like Golduck. Golduck, incredible low tier rain abuser, has terrific versatility and is enjoyable to build with. I just wish it got Swords Dance or kept Hone Claws. I don't know if I can speak to Golduck's viability in the standard metagame, but I do know that Amel in week 1 brought like a physically defensive Cloud 9 Golduck with Rocky Helmet and like Flip Turn Encore Knockoff Yawn to check a Float Soul Rain team that Deary had, and I thought that was really cool. And I've never seen Golduck used like that. I've seen it used as like budget raid abuser, but really cool to see that more defensive set really do well in a matchup. So big shouts to Amel. And yeah, maybe I need to give Golduck a shot. Who knows? Next up, though, we have Burning here. He said, in terms of pure brokenness, it has to be Excalibur. However, that's because Tera is an unbelievably broken mechanic. As an actual Pokemon, Meowscarada is a blast to use. The speed, coverage, and Protean makes it such an insanely versatile mon that has no bad matchups. I agree. Now, obviously the top one, Terrabax. I haven't seen Terrabax allowed in about a year, I want to say. Pretty consistently. That guy is very much so Terra banned. However, Meowscarada, I'm a big fan of. I actually have Meowscarada on my Draft League World Cup team, which I'm really excited to use it because I haven't used it in a while. But again, the thing is, like Burning said, so darn versatile, and there's no such thing as a bad matchup. Meowscarada 1 usually has an incredible offensive matchup, right? It's Weavile, but beats water types. We have U-Turn, Knock, Valor Chick, Triple Axle, Play Rough. Really, that's all you'll need in most matchups. Maybe a random Sucker Punch or a Play Rough. I don't know if I mentioned Play Rough before, but we spike and we taunt, and I think that's a big aspect to it, right? Because maybe you have the 1 in 10 matchups where Meow is really bad offensively. Does not happen often. We can very much so go with that like lead focus spike set. We can go with like the lead non-Protean Overgrow Torrent Leash Overgrow Leaf Storm variant to, you know, really catch off some more physically defensive checks and things like that. I've seen pure special Meowscarada do really well with cool coverage moves like we said Leaf Storm, but also things like you know, Power Gem and things of the sort. So definitely an incredibly versatile Pokemon that, like Burning said, has no bad matchups. There's no such thing as a Meowscarada as like unbringable matchup, right? Next up, we have A12, and of course, Natdex, he has to mention Diggersby, remains a menace, of course. And then Paldeonix, we have an interesting one, Monkey Dory. He has a unique resist profile to ground and poison, a nuke, that's a little bit generous, fantastic coverage, and Trick make it a lot better than people think. Maybe I need to take you up on that, my friend, because I'm not the biggest Monkey Dory fan. However, I will say in my week 4 matchup, I guess we're kind of like moving ahead a little bit in low tier. I'm playing a Tera Monkey Dory, and goodness gracious, that guy's a little bit scary in low tier. But in standard, I haven't seen it perform how I'd like it to. I thought it was going to be like slightly worse Gengar, and it's performed much worse than that across the leagues I've seen. Maybe again, it just needs to be on the right team. Next up, we have Aaron12 here saying favorite has to be Tera Reverum for sure. Shift Gear plus Tera go brazy. Second in line is either Uxie or Bax, both my recent championship, with Bax going 29 kills and 5 deaths this season without Tera. And Uxie as a defensive wall is just amazing. Uxie is great this gen. I love Fat that isn't passive to where we can encore, T-Wave, yawn, kind of deal with things accordingly, as well as be a great pivot and get in and out and U-turn and get up rocks very, very reliably. So I'm definitely big on Uxie. Bax without Tera, getting 29 kills with that is very, very impressive. Definitely a very solid mon. Maybe it's just I always have Tera Bax in my mind and it doesn't even compare. Reverum is a really fun one though, especially if you're playing, free Tera Preview. That mon is incredible with Tera. In last year's Smogon low tier tour, I had a Tera Reverum team. If you haven't checked out the video, go to the movies playlist on the channel and go watch it. We made top 32 with that, and I really, really freaking enjoyed Reverum. It was so much fun. The amount of typings that we went, we mostly kind of stuck with water because it was great defensively and offensively, and really accent Reverum's offensive profile in a lot of the matchups we had. But there was matchups where we went flying. There was even a matchup where I think in my last game, my top 32 game, I went Tera Ghost because Ghost just didn't have any good resistance. And it was a good typing that game. So definitely a really cool one. Next up, we have Hawaiian Shaman here saying Ogre Pon, Cornerstone, or Torterra for sure. I want to try Cornerstone so bad. I think that mon would be really, really fun to try out in the format. I haven't seen too many people use it. I know Panther had it in BBR. I know Ant had it in OGDL, my Discord draft league, and he really enjoyed it. I think having that 100% accurate physical rock move is really, really valuable. The only thing that really bugs me about Ogre is it's a rock type that can't rock. And that's tough, man. It really does kind of make the rest of your drafting wonky. If I'm drafting a rock and it can't rock, I'm drafting it somewhere else. And that kind of can lead to some awkward team comps, but definitely cool. Torterra is awesome, but I really don't like the Shell Smash variants very much. I think the Torterra effect is real. You either have a Scarfer that's going to be faster than that +2, or you're going to get Mirror Herbed. I mean, the amount of Mirror Herbs you play into when having a Torterra is absolutely insane. The Torterra effect is absolutely insane. The amount of times I've run Mirror Herbs or seen people run Mirror Herbs or things of the sort. I mean, as someone who's, you'll see us play a Torterra in the upcoming week, it definitely forces a lot of prep on that Smash side, and that's why I think those defensive rocking sets are even better, or even Swords Dance Bulky is really solid. Then we have Lux here saying Sharpness is a drug, Glade / Hisuian Samurott. Also Terra Cerulege, that guy should have Sharpness too, to be completely honest. I think that's a crime that I doesn't get it. I haven't gotten the chance to use Glade this gen. It's definitely been its come up gen though, like a really, really solid Pokemon in that regards. But I will say, Hisuian Samurott is that is a hell of a drug. I will draft that thing if at all possible, at any time possible. The perfect round 2 pick in my opinion. Absolutely love it. It accents a lot of the top end of the metagame so freaking well too. And having a strong stab move that sets up spikes when you attack is broken in concept. Insane. Then we have Rose here saying Terapagos has been a ton of fun to use in my latest league. Otherwise, Hisuian Typhlosion has been fun as a Terramon. Hit so hard with no switch-ins. So that's a pretty cool one. I've used regular Hisuian Typhlosion a couple seasons ago in the BBR, and I definitely really enjoyed it there. It was actually a big sleeper pick. I liked it a lot. Fire Ghost is such a good stab combo. And those eruption sets are obviously, putting a lot of pressure, but I love Lava Plume and Infernal Parade sets as well with boots. Really solid defensive profile in that typing as well. Terapagos is the mon I really want to try. I mean, it feels like it was built for Draft League. I mean, it's one recovery move away from being super bannable, but on its own, I mean, the setup opportunities you find with having better multi-scale, because that's what Terra Shell is. It's just better multi-scale. Is absolutely insane. You can move hazards, you can, be really annoying, and you could even be a rocker if you want, but really, you're most of the time gonna come in and click buttons. AIM will use it so well this last season of the BBR, so that's kind of been my motivation of wanting to use it. Next up, we have L5 saying Drifblim. I mean, unironically, Drifblim has been pretty darn incredible this generation. Has really had to come up as a low tier threat, whether it be funny mirror herbs. There's a lot of unburdened shenanigans in order to stop a lot of the scary offense. It's always going to be really, really solid. So I've seen Drifblim's probably had one of the biggest come ups of low tier bonds for sure. And of course, Keegan here grabbing DJ hands. I mean, is there... Oh, I skipped over Thriller. We'll go back up to Thriller. I mean, is there a better Pokemon in the game? No. I mean, is there? Yes, but is there? No. DJ Hands is the GOAT. This is one of my favorite thumbnails that Kurt has ever done for me, by the way. Pay Kurt money to make you thumbnails. This guy's the GOAT. Then, There we go. We have Thriller also saying, I have to agree with Hands, but a few others. I love Meowscarada, fantastic breaker, having Spike and T-Spike. I forgot to mention that Meowscarada got T-Spike when I was talking about it a minute ago. And I gotta say, Gouging Fire. I'm 11-1 with kills in it. This Mons sub-DD, sub-DD or just sub-Morning Sun Mons busted. Yeah, I want to try Gouging Fire a lot. It's one of those monsters too that's super broken with Tera, but just like solid otherwise. I really want to try it though. I think it's incredibly bulky. I think like the fat DD variants are like almost unguardable. They are so hard to beat. Really, really fun mon. But we see some repeat, mons here, and I won't go over them obviously again. In Hands, so that's 3 hands, and another Meowscarada, which again makes sense. Then we have Galvant here saying, so far it's Tinglu. The mon is so thick, it's crazy. The only thing it's missing for me is access to Curse. That might break it. I don't know. Yeah, Curse or Bulk would be pretty crazy on Tinglu. No, I mean, Tinglu's great. I haven't used it since like the beginning of the generation, but I mean, super reliable hazard setter, very, very fat, does not die to anyone hit, but also isn't passive in its own right. Ruination, getting rid of half the HP, whirlwinding things out, or just having strong stab plus rock coverage is always going to be really solid. So I think that Tinglu is great, and you can even go like the JCM route of just bring like weakness policy every week and taking a super effective hit and just killing something after. So definitely a really fun one. Next up, we have Dell saying Paldean Tauros Blaze, the one true code of the Gen 9 format. I do love the bowls. I mean, we have Water Bowl in LTM right now. I really, really thought about getting Fire Bowl as well, just because I like it more offensively. Firefighting is such an incredible typing. You're very bulky, solid speed here. You can bulk up, you can boost speed. You can just be defensive and annoying. Like, it's just an overall very, very solid Pokemon. I love Paldean Tauros Blaze, especially in that low tier format. That was a mod I paired with the Rev Room in that Smoke on low tier. So yeah, really solid. Then we have Hobo here saying Tera, Mimikyu, or Ironhands or Cleaver. I recently gave Ironhands a chance and I'm glad I did. That's another hands. I think that's 4 hands now. 4 hands, that's like 2 people, right? Or 1 Sukuna, right? Really, really solid mod. We love us some hands. Mimikyu, I don't know if I'm on the same train. I don't know if I would ever waste my Tera on a Mimikyu, in the sense that I think Mimikyu is not best as a sword stance sweeper. I think Mimikyu is best as like Rocky Helmet, Red Card, Eject Button type mon, using Disguise to position the rest of your team, because it's just too weak, man. Maybe Tera Ghost would be strong, but yeah, I don't know. Depends on like what else can Tera, I guess. And then we have Cleavor. Cleavor's a mod I want to try too. Again, attacking hazards is always a broken concept. You have close combat for the rock resist, and that's really all you need. It's just rock plus fighting, right? And you turn around. So really solid mod. Really, really hard to switch into in some matchups. And we have Zeke saying Donphan. And I know it sounds like a funny answer, but I don't know if I've seen someone use Donphan better than I've seen Zeke use Donphan. I mean, the offensives like, bandit sets that he'll bring, or like a lot of, Custap spam. I think we even saw like Scarf Donphan a couple times in OGDL from Big Zeke here. So definitely a Donphan connoisseur. He knows what he's talking about with the big fan, right? Next up, we have Marcus, a mon that's near and dear to my heart. Big Electrode Hisui. I love this thing, man. I mean, it's so freaking good. That speed tier plus obviously like unblockable volt switches, being that your ground isn't going to want to come in and take a Leaf Storm to the face, is really, really valuable, especially if this is going to be a Terra Captain for a great low tier Terra Captain, whether it be Ice, Fairy, Water. There's so many different types you can go and make this thing really hard to switch into, and a really, really incredible pivot. And Breaker, or even like sub-leech variants, are so hard to beat, because I mean, like, it depends on like what the grass is. Obviously grass is kind of stuff that set, but like if you're a Terra set too, like sub-leech Terra Blast is super obnoxious. Next up, we have Lars here saying Terra Ground, Choice Band, EQ, Adamant, 252. Wait, oh, he's talking about Rhydon. Rhydon. My opponents were truly riding on these nuts. It's like, what's happening in this tweet? Rhydon, with Tera, this thing is an absolute menace and can't be O-code in any way, shape, and form. It can steamroll on a moment's notice. Also, CB is terrifyingly strong. I feel like I would just be Rhyperior, though, right? Like, I would just get a Rhyperior instead, unless that guy's like Terra Band in your league. But yeah, really good mon. And then another rock in Glamora. What a great mon. What a damn great mon it is. Not only is its hazard game real, but the offensive capabilities are crazy good. That's coverage for day. And now with Meteor Beam, it has even more sweeping potential too. What a versatile good boy. I agree. I actually really love offensive Glim. And Meteor Beam is something I haven't used on it yet. I don't know if I've drafted it since it got access to that. But before, you could run like rock polish sets with like weakness policy, and you could proc it on weaker special attackers and things like that, like Rotoms and things like But I think that Meteor Beam now giving you an option to just Rock Polish, Meteor Beam, get to +1, and maybe Oko an entire team after some chip is incredibly valuable. Or like Assault Vest sets. I love Assault Vest Glim too. I love Assault Vest Glim. And obviously you can just Hazard Stack to the end of the yard too. Next up we have the GOAT, Soggy, Doggy, Sage here, saying Greninja, great speed tier, mixed attacker, endless utility, and all the coverage you could ever want, plus an unparalleled ability to just win games you have no business winning otherwise. Everything a draft player could ever want and then some. I mean, Greninja's just, it's always a top tier draft on, right? Whether it be in Gen 6, 7, and 8, where you couldn't use Protean because it was broken Protean, and Battle Bond was obviously banned at that time, it was still incredible as a second option, right? Just a great offensive spiker. And now this gen, you have that aspect, but you can run Protean, which is incredible, and you have that win potential in Battle Bond at any moment's notice, right? And if we haven't revealed our ability, you can put your opponents in really awkward positions to not allow them to sack something, right? Or they can get just absolutely steamrolled, and that can be really, really frustrating to build and play against. So I'm definitely big on Greninja. Absolutely love the mon. It's crazy. I mean, it's a round 1 viable mon this gen, which is always really cool to see. Considering, you know, it was always pretty complex in round 2 guy before, and it was still great, right? Next we have Blue Sing Bombardier for sure. I mean, the absolute go 3 stabs. This and Delmise, and you have 6 stab moves and 2 Pokemon. That's crazy. Super broken. We have Wish here now saying Iron Treads. For me, this guy comes almost every game. It's solid every time. Offensive, defensive, utility. Love it. Great spinner. His passes knocks. One of the best defensive typings in the game, and actually the bulk to use it, unlike Excadrill. And a great speed tier. I mean, there's not much to not like. It's also really hard to switch into in some matchups. Like, you have your stabs plus rock plus electric plus bug and Megahorn plus ice and ice spinner plus knock. Like, it's pretty difficult to switch into in some matchups for some teams. They don't appreciate switching into treads at all. I definitely never do, I feel like. Next up, we have Shuckle King going the opposite end of the spectrum and saying definitely great touch. So much versatility in what it can do. I mean, yeah, it's an instant KO machine. Nothing kills it. It can spin and bulk up and win games. It can rock really reliably. It can be AV. It can be banded. It can be scarfed. It can just be a booster attack set to kill something. I mean, overall, just a really, really incredible Pokemon. I love me some Great Tusk. Absolute banger of a Pokemon that they released this gen. Next up, we have J-Bear saying, I've loved using Palafin. I think it's super easy build game plans around right from lead. Yeah, I think Palafin really, really rewards preparation, right? If we're understanding when and how we're getting in Palafin to get the big guy form, once we do so, it becomes one of the best Pokemon in the game. And if you can kind of minimize the opportunity cost of having to get it in, you're going to be in a great spot. You're really going to be in a great spot. And especially with Tera. Now, I haven't seen Tera Palafin allowed in a while. But even without, it does really well. I know I watched Kurt use it really well recently in one of his leagues. So definitely a great Pokemon. Next up, we have Stremy here saying Scizor. Scizor definitely fell off a little bit this gen, right? And since then, it lost Roost, which I think is tough. But offensively, it's still great. And having a strong anti-Mickey priority is always a huge boost to a Pokemon's viability, especially in a generation like this. So I'm definitely a big Scizor guy. I draft it all the time. I noticed in the Oras tour, I drafted Scizor, which can Roost and Defog and Toxic and play that bulky Scizor. I brought an Assault Vest set like it was Gen 9 in a game, and it won me, or it helped me win the game a lot more comfortably. So I mean, maybe there's some value in not playing passive and roosting with your Scizor, right? Next up, we have Dashing here saying, I have to say Ogre Pon. I've had the most success with Ogre Pon Cornerstone at 13 and 4, but I want to use Wellspring or Chaladon Rain at some point. I've seen Ogre Pon in general has had a big come up recently, especially Ogre Water has been not Tera banned in a lot of leagues recently, and I've been seeing it as like a really big trend mon for a lot of people to kind of pick up and just Tera and kill everything with. Plus that Spread F boost is really valuable. I'm not the biggest on Hearthflame because Hearthflame is always Tera banned, and it's really bad without Tera, in my opinion. Regular is another mon I've seen Tera'd pretty often too. Regular Ogre Pon, so definitely cool. And then we also have Quackleval from Dashing here. One of my favorite all-time Pokemon. I've touched it 5 times. This kitty is 71 and 20. Your opponents need to learn to play L2P is what they say, something like that. 71 and 20 in 5 leagues is insane. I mean, it is one of the best snowball mons in the game. It is how I would describe as like the biggest noob killer in the metagame right now. Super big snowball mon. I guess there's a couple other mons that are probably like similar levels of noob killer, but it's definitely a big one. Next up, we have Trexo here saying, Bundle is stupid fun when you ain't gotta do it, telling you that Hydro Pump is the only usable water move. Iron Hands is number 2, though. Definitely the GOAT draft mon. It's 5 Iron Hands mentions, ladies and gentlemen. Now, do we see why we have the You Are My Sunshine Iron Hands thumbnail? Yeah. But Bundle is fun, man. It's just like one surf away from being freaking incredible. It is tough to have to rely on Hydro Pump. I think with Tera, it becomes an absolute monster and it becomes so good. And I don't think it's super Tera bannable as much as some other mons in my opinion. But I do pretty consistently see Tera ban. I wasn't the biggest fan of it in GBU because of so, but I did enjoy using him as like the facilitator force switch guy, getting flip turns into better offense, more reliable offense at least, so. Yeah. Next up, we have Bash here saying, Paldea Dex, Tera Jolteon because I'm the Jolteon guy. I went 17-0 in 5 games in Trickhouse. Goodness gracious, that's worse than the Quaquaval, bro. That's terrible. Provides a lot of pressure with different sets in Calm Mind or Quick Feet, or just support, or just offensive pressure. I mean, I don't know about its versatility. I think like Fast Volt, Unblockable Volt because of your Tera typing is valuable, but I don't know about versatility. And then Natdex, Iron Hands. It opens up the game a lot for late games. So we were breaking down checks. That's 6. That's 6 Iron Hands. That's 6 Iron Hands. We've been recording for 20 minutes. We're getting a couple We're getting the Iron Hands every couple minutes at this point. But yeah, I mean, we love us some Iron Hands, man. That's the GOAT. Then we have Jason saying Dodun for sure. It's one of my favorite Gen 9 draft Pokemon as well. I mean, I love drafting this thing with Tera. It didn't do as much as I wish it would have in BBR last season, but I think it's just because the team we drafted was super broken and didn't really need it to come. And kind of the team structures were a lot more offensive in nature, whereas Dodun is a little bit fatter. But I mean, like the Calm Mind recoil sets with Tera become absolutely brutal and so difficult to deal with on a consistent basis. So great Pokemon overall, for sure. Next up, we have Yaro here saying, out of the 3 leagues I've been in so far, I would say Weavile. Kind of bet on it getting triple axle and knockoff back via DLCs, so the early investment was great. Especially making it a Tera captain helped further its offensive presence. The speed test speaks for itself. Simple. Dude, he bought early, and then the Weavile stock soared through the moon. Now, I will say he is kind of like burger flipping Meowscarada, but I mean, it's still a Weavile, right? I mean, we can't get on it too much for power creep. In general, but like that's not its fault. It's still great though. I mean, knock triple axle shard, it's really all you need in every game. It's gonna outspeed most things. Again, anti-Mickey, strong priority too. We always take that. Great mon. And if you can position Sword Stance, you kind of just win the game most of the time with Weavile. Next up, we have Jacob here saying Iron Hands is my 7. Why it's only 14 points is beyond me. I think it's better than Annihilate, but that must use 16 or 17. I think if you're taking non-Tera Hands and non-Tera Annihilate, yes, I actually 100% agree that Hands is a better Pokemon. 7 Iron Hands! Next up is Kurt, of course. We have to get Belly Bolted. Belly Bolt, the next statement is scientifically proven and is not an opinion. If you don't think Belly Bolt is him, you're simply bad at the game. Sorry. Again, another low-tier Tera Demon, but even if it can't, even if it's not like not a Tera on your captain on your team, Pure Electric with that crazy of bulk, and having Toxic as a niche, like, you know, that a lot of things don't have, is so freaking valuable. I mean, I love me some Belly Bolt. I've drafted this thing a few times myself as well, and I've seen it do some absolutely ridiculous things in this game, especially with Tera. Love us some Belly Bolt. Then we have Hazel with our 8th Iron Hands. 8 Iron Hands. Iron Hands and Palafin are the 2 stick out to me. Just great monsters to build around and play with, yeah. We talk about both these guys, so we're not going to go into it too in depth, but again, that's 8 Iron Hands. 8. Next up, we have Braden saying, gotta be Dodun Stars, that mod is just so reliable. And yeah, I mean, we kind of, again, we just touched on like the setup sense, but it is reliable in the sense of like just being like bulky Roost, 2 attacks rocks, or bulky Roost, 2 attacks and glare. Like, absolutely incredible mod. Now we have Aki. What a wonderful compliment. I actually did not see this tweet a while ago. You could tell I didn't like it. Not because I'm super upset, I just genuinely didn't see this. First good take I've seen from you. Iron Hands is an 18-pointer. That's 9. That's 9 Iron Hands. 9 Iron Hand mentions. We have 60 tweets. 1/6 of people are saying Iron Hands is him. 4 out of 5 dentists say that Iron Hands is the greatest Pokemon of all time. Yeah, Iron Hands. I'm not gonna like it now because it's been about 2 months, but if you somehow see this Aki, I like this tweet. There you go. Alright, next up we have Sharpie plays here saying, Houndstone because we allowed Last Respects the first time. Clodsire has been the most reliable friend I think I've ever drafted. I'm not the biggest on Claude. I think it's very, very passive and exploitable. I do like Houndstone a lot, even if it's not like Last Respect, you know, Tera, like that kind of like broken Houndstone with Sand. I love the fluffy sets. I think like the fluffy sets, like low tier Tera defensive Houndstone, like how Viz used it a lot of the time in BBR, is very, very solid. Except we have Shadow Glade saying, Terra normal Dragonite is an absolute legend. Easily my favorite Terramon to use. I mean, you guys think that Terra normal Dragonite is like insane and like standard and VGC, or even in draft, if you can like only Terra normal it. When this thing could free Terra, when this thing was just allowed to Terra. I haven't seen Terra Dragonite since like the second month of SV. When this thing can Terra, it becomes the most broken Pokemon in the format. With that bulk, that ability, that move pool, I mean, whether it be offensive like Terra normal sets or Terra flying, Terra water, Terra fair, I mean, the amount of typings that this thing can viably go is insane. I think the only one I have never ever seen is Bug. Bug D-Knight has been elusive, but the rest of them, I saw in that like brief like 4 or 5 month span where Terra normal D-Knight was allowed in places. Next up, we have Sartek here saying Hisuian Zoroark is so fun. I want to try it a lot. I hate regular Zoroark. I think it's terrible. However, Hisuian Zoroark has actual immunities, and is a little bit better offensively, in my opinion, just because of typing and things like that. So I definitely really, really want to try it. I'm using Hisuian Zorua in Little Cup right now, and I've definitely really, really enjoyed that guy. I think that guy's been really, really solid. So yeah, definitely a great mon. Next up, we have another Iron Treads here from Galactic Anderson here saying, must be treads for me. Great speed utility and can run quality offense. I mean, yeah, that is it, baby. That's pretty much it. Next up, we have Council or Diamond here saying Ogre Pon Hearthflame. Now, granted, my league had Terra legal because we didn't realize how busted it was until a week after we already started, but still, Mon is an absolute demon to help me win a league I really cared about. Well, congrats on the win, brother. That is beautiful. Terrifier, obviously, is the only thing you can run, but really, that's all you need to run. I mean, yeah, we just said earlier that I'm not big on Ogre Hearthflame, but that's only when it can't Terra. When it can Terra, I think it's pretty freaking ridiculous. I mean, like, it's an absolutely insane mon. Next up, we have Ideology Cooties, or I Hate Badness here saying, well, the real answer is Mega Audino and Natdex League. I only play Natdex. But the answer you probably want is my free Terra Captain Mo-Chan. I can tell you're playing Natdex because these are Pokemon with actual bulk. And we can't do that in Paldea. But I mean, we love Mega Audino. As long as Mega Aud isn't like first turn Mega Lock, like it's Gen 6 and 7 again, then I think it's an absolutely great mon, because you just stay on Terra until you need the bulk, and you Terra and live any one hit that you need. Otherwise, you're just regen pivoting in and out constantly. A little bit passive offensively, but like with Encore 2 wave, things like that, you're probably gonna be fine. And regen, best ability in the game. All right, next up we have Class saying his Cly saying his top 5 Zapdos, which you haven't seen. I love me some Zapdos. I think offensively Zapdos is really good this gen. People sleep on that. We saw a lot of my matchups against Viz, and I've noticed J-Bear and JJDL has been using offensive sets too. Lycanroc Dust, definitely a fun mon. Ursaluna Blood Moon is the one I really, really want to try. Goldango and Ironhands. That's 10. That is 10 Ironhands. We have not hit 30 minutes on this video. 10 Ironhands. Ladies and gentlemen, 10. Insane, that's the GOAT. Oh god, Goldango for sure from Devin here. The amount of freedom I've gotten in the spreads, how cool the typing is because it has real recovery, and how cool the coverage is, the mod is a complete package. Yes, 100%. I think Terra Goldango is also absolutely insane. Really solid mons, Scarf specs, bulky Nasty Plot sets, great mon. T-waving bulky sets too. You can just use it defensively, right? Ghost Steel with recover is absolutely insane. I mean, think of Aegislash and how impossible to kill it feels. Obviously it's bulkier, but it doesn't have recover, right? It doesn't have to click King Shield in order to be bulky, so hey mom. Next up we have Anthony here saying Douchbun, a valuable low tier fairy that objectives since Gen 9 began. Defensive bulk, good cleric / utility, a good ability, and a valuable Terra Captain. My favorite Chi-Yu check. I don't know about check to Chi-Yu, because you might get to a KO by Specs Dark Pulse, or just like Oko by Specs Psychic, but you are immune and resist one of the stabs. So that's actually a really cool aspect to it. I do like it as the funny Chi-Yu forcer. Next up, we have David Tarquino here saying, Hammerot is so nice, beastless edge, am I right? So true. I'm edging ceaselessly. Let's go, Hammerot. But, I mean, we talked about Hammerot. Obviously an incredible Pokemon. We definitely really like it. Next up, we have Biff the Banana here saying, honestly, it could be a few things, but I think I'm going to have to go with Iron Treads. It's a lot of Iron Treads today. I think it's like 4. It's got an absolutely crazy 106 speed, incredible bulk, and you can run all sorts of sets on it. It's a perfect anti-fairy pick for me on a draft with 3 dragons. Chi-Yu would have been top, but I don't know why. But I do agree. I do like Iron Treads a lot. Triple Dragon plus Treads is pretty shiesty too. Next up, we have Dave here. Daddy Dave lives in your DMs. Low tier Tera, Electrode, or Sneasler. Made it to a finals in a league with both, and I didn't really use Unburden Sneasler for the whole season. And terrain support too. Just Boots, Scarf, Abandon, Poison Touch, U-turns, put in so much work. Yeah, I mean, crazy prep it's forcing consistently. Really obnoxious Mons. Razer Claw is a super Mickey move, and you always have that option to set up and win. Very easy, right? Then we have Noah here saying, I have to pick it up again sometimes because Iron Jugulis was consistently a bulky tail in my VGC League. I mean, for those of you who saw the VGC League, Iron Jug was the absolute MVP of that team behind Magmar. Both of them did not get kills, but they supported the team so well. In my limited VGC knowledge, I love Jugulis as a mid-tier pickup in a VGC draft league. Absolutely would recommend if you don't have like one of the top tier Tailwind setters to pick up Juke. The booster speed plus Tailwind and Snarl and Taunt was just absolutely incredible. And offensively it was good too. We ran a Meteor Beam set once, which is dope. Next up we have Ty, the guy here saying, in my opinion, favorite Mon I've used, and it's only because it made me win many games, and that's just Sneasler. Unburden is just too good. My second pick would be Palfin. Both Mons we've already talked about. Great Mons. Really solid. Next up we have Theo here saying, I'm a big Tinglu enjoyer. Insane bulk, solid offense, Whirlwind with hazard stack, and lots of possible sets, including weakness policy, AV, or even banned. Lycanroc Dust with Tera is also him. I did enjoy Lycanroc Dust with Tera a lot in the BBR tournament last summer, and I enjoyed it again just on its own. We already talked about Tinglu with Nate when he brought it up. Yeah, and he mentioned weakness policy, which I think is a great set on it. Next up, we have Josh here saying, Great Tusk is the GOAT. Headlong plus CC to knock, hazard removal, Scarf works insanely well. As long as you have something that can take special attacks, it works well on any team. I mean, yeah, infinite, or perfect Gloomon. You just slap it on a team, it's going to work. Always. There's never going to be, I don't know if Great Tusk works here, right? Then we have Orange here saying Greninja is the most is the most fun Pokemon, ever. 100% love building with it. It's so fun. 100%. We talked about it earlier. Protean as an option, as well as the Battle Bond, win condition variants, which you're going to see a lot of the time, to be honest. I feel like people are kind of leaning that way now. It's going to be great. Keran is very excited about Pecharunt. Pecharunt, rah! I really want to try this thing. We actually almost allowed it in the LTM. I wouldn't have gotten it there because it probably would have went first. That guy would have been super broken in low tier. Pecharunt low tier sounds ridiculous. But in standard, I mean, Abel used it so well. I'm seeing Ant use it really well in JJDL. It's a Pokemon I definitely want to try myself. Having a ghost type that just walls Pokemon with knockoff is really fucking funny. It give you stab knocks and you're just not getting to a KO by it after you lose your item. So great Mon. Next up, we have Wagon Fruit here saying regular Ogre Pon. Without Tera, it's fun. Solid high tier with ton of utility and disruption tools. With Tera, I think it's speed and power boost from its ability, close to game breaking depending on matchup. And losing with it is a choice. That is a bold take. I mean, it is. We talked about it earlier. I've seen a lot more Tera Grass Ogre Pons. It lacks in the versatility, but it makes up for it in just raw damage output. And that speed is really nice. Getting guaranteed +1 speed when you switch in is always going to be incredibly valuable. Next up, we have Scribble here saying, gotta be Palin for me. I love how creative you can be with it, but also just insanely strong buttons is a lot of fun. Sweeping with Throat Spray plus Boom Burst and Agility. For the first time, doing 60% with Banded Struggle are some of my favorite modes. 60% with Banded Struggle, I have to know what Mon that was. I have to know what Mon it took 60% from Banded Struggle, because it's no longer allowed to be drafted. Next up, we have May here saying, I've done one Gen 9 League and I went 4 and 8, but Tinkaton was so fun to use. Click Big Hammer, click Annoying Utility Move, click Big Hammer again, click another Annoying Utility Move, and repeat. It's wonderful, great low tier rocker, and has fantastic nickname potential. Perfect Mon. I was a big Tinkaton hater at the beginning of the gen, but I think I've come around to it, especially with how limited the fairy pool feels this gen. It's a great Mon. T-Wave Encore, and then you're just not Gigaton. I've seen offensive variants do really well recently too. There are some matchups where SD Gigaton is just incredibly strong. I mean, I've seen cool Ice Hammer sets before too, and things like that. I wish it got Earthquake or Rock Slide instead of Rock Tomb and Bulldoze. More high base power moves outside of Gigaton would be very much so appreciated, and a higher attack stat. But I think it's fine. It's still very good mid-tier fairy type. Then we have Pikachu. Really likes Pikachu. Saying respect the mouse. # respect the mouse. I've seen Pikachu smoke stall before, so I respect the mouse. Don't you worry. Alright, we only have 2 more. We have Connor here saying Clawitzer has generally been a 4 to 6 point Tera captain in my league, and the value is incredible. Yeah, I mean, really strong. If spec'd correctly, very bulky too. Will not die to anyone hit at the very least. Not very bulky, but won't die to anyone hit too. So, if you're wholly doing low tier Tera captains, getting that thing guaranteed going 1 for 1 pretty much, with specs and AV variants, really solid. Good Mon. And then we have MNAS here saying, Clodsire, with Unaware and Water Absorb, I can do so many things. It was the bedrock of my defense this season, and it would not die. I think in Nat decks, Clodsire would feel a little bit better. Like I said, I'm not super big on it in Paldea, but that's just a personal thing. I think it's a little bit too passive, but again, it's very reliable at what it does, as long as you're taking into account that passivity. But yeah, that's going to be the team. Or that's going to be the team. Dude, did I just do a 40-minute team build or a 35-minute team builder? That is going to be the video. 10 Iron Hands. I would like you guys to know we hit double-digit Iron Hands. I think the next closest one we got was actually like Iron Treads with like 4. So if you need a Pokemon to draft in round number 2 of your next league, get you an Iron Hands. That's all I'm going to say. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, drop a like if you enjoyed, sub if you're new. Stick around because next week we'll have another discussion video where we'll talk about everybody's favorite cores in Draft League, like favorite Pokemon to draft together because they accent each other really well. Yeah, I'm hoping to get more Twitter discussions as well. So please let me know if you guys have ideas for ones in the comments. I definitely take all of that into account 100%. And it helps me make more videos for you guys. So maybe in a couple videos, it'll be your Twitter question that you submitted in the comments. But that being said, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a good one.